Welcome back to the Week 12 edition of my NFL Pick'em, and hey, happy Thanksgiving everyone. First of all, I've got to acknowledge that Chiefs and Rams game. It not only lived up to the hype, but it surpassed it and was probably the best regular NFL season game ever. With the Monday Night Football stage being moved from Mexico City to LA, it became international news, and then for the game to go down like it did, man, I gotta say, it definitely left me hungry for this 3-course meal of football on Thursday. Thanksgiving has provided us with some pretty memorable moments in the past, so let's just hope that we can add to those memories this year. 'Tis the season, and I want to say that I am thankful for you guys checking out this video, and for all of you that have been riding along with me this whole season. I'm also thankful that my team managed to keep this Thanksgiving Day game meaningful, and hopefully they just won't embarrass me in front of my family like they have been the past few years. Let's just all pray that we don't get another halftime show like this one. I just hope that everyone watching this gets a chance to kick back, relax, and enjoy the 4 F's on Thanksgiving: family, friends, food, and football. If you get to enjoy 2 out of the 4, consider yourself lucky. Maybe I'm just already in the holiday spirit, but I had one of my worst weeks this entire season, and you know what? I'm upset about it because this has been a really fun experience, and I'm just enjoying one of the better NFL seasons in recent memory with y'all. This week started off so promising after getting the exact score right in the Packers Seahawks Thursday Night Football game, and I was really focused on the primetime games this week since they were such a good batch of games, and I got all of those right, so I guess that's a moral victory in a sense. And man, I wish you guys could have seen the smug look on my face for 58 minutes in the Steelers Jaguars game. I was so ready to dip this week's video and I told you so's for all the people in the comments telling me that the Jaguars had no chance to beat the Steelers. I could have gotten every game wrong this week but called that upset and felt like it was success, but no. But hey, if you're struggling like I did this week, don't give up. There's a reason they play 17 weeks because any team can win on any given Sunday. Let's go over last week. Here are the top picks from week 11 with Big Breezy 2000 in the top spot. And these are the leading entries so far in this Pick'em challenge, with Alan the God jumping RK Knoll again just by a hair, but we've got quite a few guys right on their tail also. And despite having my worst week of the season, I climbed from 91st overall to 85th overall. So I guess that means that a lot of people were having a pretty rough week. And just a friendly reminder guys, the weekly goal for this video is 500 likes. You guys have been crushing it every single week, so please continue to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to, and let's get into these picks. The first game on Thanksgiving Day is going to be Bears at Lions. By now you guys know the Bears were one of my favorite offseason teams coming into this season for all the moves that they made, but in the past, offseason winners have not always translated into regular season winners. Well, this Bears team certainly has, and they're doing it with a roster built for this time of year. And by now, you guys know I'm not a fan of the Lions roster or their coaching staff very much, but I always admire and appreciate when lesser teams are still playing hard late in the season, even when making the postseason has become somewhat of a dream. So I don't expect the Lions to just give in to the Bears here. In fact, the Bears should be on high alert when headed into a division rival on Thanksgiving. Matthew Stafford has been playing on Thanksgiving his entire career, and even though most teams experience a yearly Thursday night game nowadays, not many are familiar with what it's like playing at 11 a.m. on a Thursday. So I could see the Lions jumping out to an early lead, but the Bears defense wakes up around halftime or so and takes another step in securing the NFC North. Bears win 31-24. Next up, we've got Redskins at Cowboys. I just want to say that the injury to Alex Smith was brutal to see, and even as a division rival, you never want to see that happen to a guy, especially one of the good ones like Alex Smith. Now, Vontaze Burfict, on the other hand, I'm totally kidding. I always want to see the best players available on the field playing where they belong. That doesn't mean that this is going to be a walk in the park for the Cowboys either. The Redskins have relied heavily on their defense from day one anyways, and Colt McCoy and Alex Smith do have similar play styles, so the offense won't have to adjust too much. All he has to do is try to not be a hero and let the defense do their thing and convert as many third downs as possible to win the time of possession. Before I go any further for this game, I want to warn you to take my pick for this game with a grain of salt. Here's a little backstory. I've been a Texas Longhorns fan since I was a kid, and Colt McCoy was one of my favorite players growing up. And there's a trend today where people like to get mad at players like Christian McCaffrey and Nick Bosa for quitting on their college teams before bowl games or to get healthy for the biggest job interview of their life. Well, it's easy to forget because he's not a starter, but Colt McCoy quit on his teammates in the middle of a game, and not just any game, the national championship. You might not remember, but this was Nick Saban's first championship with Alabama, and who knows how things might have turned out if McCoy comes back and then they win that game. Who knows if we're all having to deal with the monster in Tuscaloosa if he doesn't have that first one that day. Yeah, I'm still salty about it. Cowboys win 23-16. And the night game on Thanksgiving is Falcons at Saints. The Saints are just demolishing teams right now, and the poor Falcons just happen to get in their way on a day where the whole world's going to be watching. This game was actually really fun earlier in the season, and with the Falcons season on the brink, they should really pull out all of the stops in this one. Deion Jones should be playing in this game, but it'd be unfair to expect him to be the guy we've seen in the past in his first game back. Even though everybody's really hyped on that Monday night game and assume that those two teams are going to be in the Super Bowl, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. The Saints are winning the Super Bowl this year. Their defense is playing really well this year, and and the Saints are just able to play in a variety of styles, which is going to be really hard to predict moving forward for other opposing teams. If the Falcons stand a chance in this game, it's going to be because they force the Saints to engage in a back and forth track meet with them. If the Saints are able to run the ball and play keep away from the Falcons defense doesn't stand a chance and will get worn down before halftime. I'm going to go ahead and predict that we get a track meet because, let's be honest, that's what the NFL is going to want from this game. Saints win still 38-31. Moving on to Sunday, we've got Raiders at Ravens. The Raiders actually won a game last week, guys, and what the were they thinking? They've literally done everything except actually announce that they're tanking, so to win a game against a team that they might actually need the tiebreakers for in their favor to get that number 1 overall pick just seems like a really bad idea to me. Okay, obviously that's hyperbole, and these guys on the field are not actually tanking, and I've never seen anyone actually do the research and go back and see the actual impact that an extra win like this could have on the future of an NFL franchise, and that's because at the end of the day, the guys on the field are competitors and they still want to win every single week. It's not their fault that their new head coach is a control freak narcissist. It's making it much harder for them every single week at the same time. I'm just being salty again, I guess, because I just posted my midseason mock draft. Go check that out. And the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. And as if the Raiders didn't have enough going against them each week already, this week they have to travel to the East Coast for a 1 p.m. local time kickoff. That's going to be 10 a.m. for the Raiders in their internal clock. Last week against the Bengals, the Ravens finally gave Lamar Jackson the reins and he literally ran with it. No, seriously, the guy ran 27 times as a quarterback. As exciting as it was to see, Lamar Jackson cannot sustain an NFL career carrying the ball 27 times. Who knows if Joe Flacco can play this week, but I say keep letting the young guy play because he's the future, and this is a good matchup for him to actually throw the ball consistently and do less of this. Ravens win 26-17. Jaguars at Bills. The Jaguars did let me down last week after I put it all on the line and declared them my episode special. Basically, the whole team had their best game of the season and they still managed to lose. I'm not even blaming Bortles 100% here because that coaching staff was just terrified of what their franchise quarterback might do if they called plays to try and stretch the field. They called the game on offense with their tail between their legs while their defense was looking like their 2017 form again, and in the end, it cost them a game. And shame on this front office that wasted a season with a Super Bowl roster on a quarterback that they don't even trust to get a first down in key moments. Meanwhile, Josh Allen is back and the Bills' entire team should be fresh off their bye week. This might be an ugly, low-scoring game, but that loss to the Steelers was probably so demoralizing for the Jaguars that I just don't see them being able to rev it up like that again for the Bills. I mean, the team had to create a story that they could potentially trade Jalen Ramsey in the offseason to get him to respond and have a good game finally. Watch out, Jaguars fans, because now that the season is pretty much over for the Jags, this team could implode before your eyes. Bills win 17-12. Seahawks at Panthers. Did I mention I got the score of the Seahawks game right last week? Okay, just checking. Honestly though, I never even checked the scores to see if I got them right. I only added the scores for the against the spread guys so they could see if I thought teams would cover or not. I saw someone else on Twitter say that they predicted the score right and I was like, wow, that looks kind of familiar. I wonder if I picked it right. And sure enough, I went and checked it out and it was. And really, it's not something to brag about because predicting the score takes about as much skill as choosing the next Mega Millions lottery numbers. So it's not that big a deal, but if you guys want my autograph, I totally get it. Let me get back to these picks. Remember when these two teams had an epic playoff game a few seasons ago in this exact same matchup here in Carolina? It feels like ages ago because this Seahawks team is so vastly different today, but both of these teams are still trying to play with similar identities to those teams. The Panthers still haven't recovered from the Thursday night thrashing against the Steelers, but I think that this is the week that they get back on track. The schedule makers had a warped sense of humor by putting yet another West Coast team in the early game slot like this, and it usually plays a significant role in the game. Panthers win 27-17. This is legit the ugliest uniform matchup in the NFL. I really hope that the Browns' new uniforms next season look like their alternates from earlier this season, but even that might not help this color clash. Everyone is really hyped on the Ravens and what Lamar Jackson did to the Bengals defense, and I'm as big a fan of Lamar as you're gonna find, but I wasn't that impressed. In fact, I'm actually impressed that Marvin Lewis was able to take over the defensive coordinator responsibilities and then keep his team in this game until the very end. If you told me that Lamar Jackson ran it 27 times in a game, I would assume that the Ravens ran away with the game. But the fact that they didn't means that the Bengals really held it down for the most part and just got exposed a few times, but it was the first time anyone has seen Lamar Jackson in a full-time role at this level, and his athleticism is off the charts, so they get a pass from me. And if Marvin Lewis is still the head coach in 2019, the Bengals will have an advantage when prepping for Lamar Jackson because they've already seen him once. Unless he makes huge strides as a passer by then, the Bengals should be ready for the next matchup. With all that said, this week they've got a guy that can also move around a little bit but is much better at dissecting a defense with his arm in Baker Mayfield. The Browns got to ride a high off off a win for the first time going into their bye week in who knows how long. The Browns and Bengals haven't played yet this season, so the Bengals are getting a crash course in the future of the quarterback position in the AFC North in back-to-back weeks. I've been hard on the Bengals this year, but I think they're going to bounce back from that Ravens loss and shut down the Browns because of their secret weapon, the assistant to the regional manager, Hugh Jackson. Bengals win 28-21. Patriots at Jets. The entire AFC East was on a bye last week, and you'd hope that'd be enough time for Sam Darnold to get healthy again to start because Josh McCown looked awful against the Bills. But honestly though, if I'm the Jets management, I'm going to tell Todd Bowles to start McCown again because I'm not subjecting my future franchise quarterback to the complexities of a Bill Belichick and his defensive scheme. Yes, it might be a good learning experience for him, but you've also got a Week 17 matchup with the Patriots that he'll likely be healthier for, and win or lose, it'll give him something to build on heading into the offseason. Let Darnold watch McCown do it first, and then rebuild his confidence. He was looking like he hit the rookie wall anyways, so there's nothing to gain from throwing him out there this week. The Patriots had to stew on a 34-10 throttling by the Titans for 2 weeks, and I'm sure that Bill Belichick was just unbearable. I expect the Patriots to be out for blood after that and will absolutely demolish the Jets. Patriots win 38-14. Giants at Eagles. The Eagles have taken this Super Bowl hangover thing a little far now. They're now being labeled the worst Super Bowl champions ever by their statistical performance thus far, and with the secondary decimated by injuries, they could fall again this week to the Giants, who are coming off back-to-back wins. The worst part about watching the Eagles struggle is seeing Carson Wentz look just helpless out there. He was a legit MVP candidate before tearing his ACL, and yet his team went on to win the Super Bowl without him. Now he's lost his coaches from last year, his deep threat, and his defense, and I don't even know if things are going to get better this season. I don't like picking the Giants because, well, I've made it clear what I think about Eli at this point, but he's still putting up numbers thanks to the weapons around him. And this Eagles secondary might make Eli look like Peyton in his prime this week. Giants win 24-21. 49ers at Buccaneers. Here we have yet another West Coast team making the East Coast trip to play in the early time slot. I don't know what the idea was here, but all three of these games should have been the afternoon games. I've always wondered why there wasn't more balance between the number of early games and late games because there's usually one good late game if you're lucky. This week we don't really have any, but I digress. The 49ers are handling their tank job with finesse, guys. Everyone is playing hard and showing promise, yet they're inching closer and closer towards the number 1 overall pick each week, and they didn't even have to lose last week. The Buccaneers are doing the QB shuffle once again, and it's reaching comedic levels at this point. Their 2-0 start feels like it was another lifetime ago at this point, and I honestly missed the Fitz magic. At least that was exciting. Jameis Winston's probably going to start again this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if he captains the ship for the rest of the season, regardless of his performance. He did provide a boost for the Bucs against the Giants, and he should ride that momentum against the 49ers defense. Bucs win 31-24. Cardinals at Chargers. The Cardinals are also playing the proverbial tank game like a boss. Josh Rosen, the offense, is clicking, and he's getting on the same page with Christian Kirk, and David Johnson isn't being run into the backside of a brick wall every play. Things are looking good for the Cardinals, and now they own the tiebreaker over the Raiders, which is important because they did sweep the 49ers, who might have the first overall pick, so at least they can slide in number 2. I'm pretty disappointed with the Chargers losing at home like that to the Broncos, but this is kind of their brand. It's like the team just has this come-up short trait deep down that gets exposed every so often. Joey Bosa should start rolling this week against a rookie quarterback and weak offensive line though. Chargers win 34-21. Dolphins at Colts. The plan is for Ryan Tannehill to return this week, if he's healthy enough. I'm really not sure how we're supposed to react to this information though. This isn't like Andrew Luck coming back from an injury. Brock Osweiler has gone 2-3 in Tannehill's absence, but does anybody really think that Tannehill is good for anything more than maybe an extra win in that stretch? An underrated story this year is how the Colts stole the Eagles' offensive magic from their Super Bowl run in Frank Reich, and Andrew Luck is having a low-key MVP caliber season. Once upon a time this year, I thought the Dolphins had a decent defense, but it's kind of eroded since then. The secondary still has a few nice pieces to build on, but they're just not there yet. Colts win 29-20. Steelers at Broncos. The Broncos are another team that I've been highly critical of this season, but they still manage to play teams close and show fight. Their defense is not quite what it used to be, but it's still got a strong core that can take some offenses out of their comfort zone, and that's what they're going to have to try and do this week. The Steelers just ran into a team like this that relies way too heavily on their defense, and then they still weren't able to keep their offense down for 4 quarters. Even in the Denver altitude, I don't think that the Broncos have the horses to keep up with the Steelers on offense, or at least to keep them in check. Steelers win 26-24. On Sunday night this week, we've got Packers at Vikings, another NFC North matchup. Hopefully Kirk Cousins can insert his foot in his mouth again because it gave me a good laugh last week against the Bears. I don't know if we've ever seen a Packers team with a healthy Aaron Rodgers in this position after Thanksgiving before. Short term, it sucks wasting one of the final years of Aaron Rodgers, but long term, it's going to be beneficial for the Packers just to get a new coaching staff in there and try and jumpstart this thing for one last hoorah with Rodgers. It feels like ages ago, but the last time these two teams played, it was an epic tie where Kirk Cousins Cousins made this ridiculous throw to Adam Thielen. I thought we were watching the class of the NFC North at the time, but fast forward to present time and both of these teams are just trying to stay alive. The Vikings were another one of my pet cats going into the season, and I expect them to bounce back against the Packers defense. Vikings win 31-28. And then on Monday Night Football this week, we've got Titans at Texans. Not quite the matchup we had last week, but still should be a good one. The Titans continue their hot and cold tour of 2018 with the past 2 weeks as a microcosm of the entire season, with the shellacking of the Patriots followed up by getting dominated by the Colts. That means they could bounce back this week and then hand the Texans their first loss since week 3, right? Do you remember when Clemson head coach Dabbo Sweeney said drafting Deshaun Watson was like drafting Michael Jordan?
Just telling you, if they pass on Deshaun Watson, they're passing on Michael Jordan. I mean, I'm just telling you. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm just an old funky college coach.
He wasn't lying or blowing smoke up to hype up a former player. Deshaun Watson just thrives in these primetime games. He saves his best performances when the whole world is watching, and even against the Titans' pretty stout defense, I think we see another epic show, and I'm predicting that Demaryius Thomas has a breakout game. Texans win 30-19. And there we have it, my Week 12 picks. Please let me know your picks below. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourselves. Try to relax, eat too much food, and I will see you guys in the next video.